The San Jose Sharks acquire Cody Ceci in a 2025 third-round pick for Ty Emberson.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL channel. I want to thank you for hanging out for this quick reaction podcast. So thank you guys for hanging out. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, even when they make 8 p.m. trades on a Sunday night in the middle of August. So if you want to make sure that you catch every time there's some breaking news, follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And we're going to do a nice little kind of 10, 15 minute podcast here to talk about Cody Ceci, who is now a member of the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks traded defenseman Ty Emberson for Cody Ceci in a 2025 third-round pick. So let's start with the why before we kind of get to know Cody Ceci and what he's going to bring in a short amount of time for the Sharks. But so if you remember last week, the Oilers had 2 of their players offer sheeted by the St. Louis Blues, and they are in a cap crunch. Dumping off Cody Ceci saves them about $2.3 million. And for the Sharks, you basically get Cody Ceci's services for a year, or until the trade deadline, and a 2025 third round pick. A lot of people already complaining they should have gotten more for Cody Ceci and for taking on that contract. The problem is the Edmonton Oilers don't have more to give up, right? 2025, they don't have a first round pick. They don't have a second round pick. Now they don't have a third round pick. And maybe you could have gotten a 2026 first or second for taking on the deal, but they just don't have stuff to give up. And that's the price you have to pay as an Edmonton Oiler fan. And as a franchise, when you're in, your cup contention window and you're doing everything you possibly can to try to bring Connor McDavid a cup before he has to make a huge decision on whether to re-sign or become the biggest potential free agent or become the biggest trade piece since Wayne Gretzky himself got traded. So for the Sharks, yes, trading Ty Emberson is a bit of a head scratcher to me because I know he was injured and missed a ton of games last year, but you could argue he was one of the Sharks' best defensemen in a short amount of time last year. So I don't love the idea of giving up Ty Emberson, but if Mike Greer maybe felt he wasn't part of the long-term future, maybe I'm speculating here, maybe there was some behind-the-scenes issues with his recovery. Who knows, right? Who knows with that? Or maybe you just have to you had to give up a contract. And for the Oilers, Ty Emberson is a cost-controlled player who's going to be an RFA for the next few seasons. It makes sense for them. And maybe they end up waiving him and the Sharks just claim him because they have first waiver priority, which would be really, really funny to see. And it could just end up being a nothing type of trade where you end up getting Ty Emberson back. But again, I'm just speculating here right now. So, the 2025 third round pick, again, it's going to be a late third round pick, closer to a fourth round pick. But it just gives you more assets to do other things, or maybe if you want to package to move up, right? The Sharks are going to have 2 first round picks. They're going to have their own second round pick and whatever else they get this season from trading off players like Mikael Granlund, Cody Ceci, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to have plenty of assets in the draft capital where if they want to go acquire an NHL player, if they want to move up in the draft, like it's fine. It's just another piece for them to go do something else with. So overall, before we get to the Cody Ceci of it all, it's a bit disappointing. My getting Cody Ceci's fine. Like he's a right-hand defenseman. We'll get to know him a little bit more. Like he's fine. I get the disappointment for only getting a 3rd round pick, but again, the Oilers just don't have stuff to give away. But I think my biggest thing is just giving up on a young, promising defenseman and Ty Emberson, who a player I think could have been a really quality piece. But, so we'll see where this goes. We'll see what happens with Cody Ceci, who I assume, his contract is $3.25 million. It's not the most easily tradable contract, but, with the cap kind of going up and such, and I think if the Sharks want to move Cody Ceci, and I assume they will move Cody Ceci because Cody Ceci is the type of defenseman that GMs love, right? He's big, he's right-handed, et cetera, et cetera. So I assume he will be gone at the trade deadline. Maybe this is a pump and dump thing where the Sharks take him in. They're going to play him a bunch. If he plays a bunch and he's able to put up some numbers, maybe you inflate his value a little bit, and then you trade him at the trade deadline and get a better package back than what you kind of paid for. So this could be what Mike Greer's long-term goal is with it. Well, Ty Emberson, maybe you weren't going to be able to get a big package for Ty Emberson. So we'll dig into who Cody Ceci is and kind of what I expect his role to be with San Jose here in just 1 second. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed, because Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agreed Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right. Whom is Cody Ceci? That's a great question for you as a Sharks fan. So let's get to know Cody Ceci a little bit here. So Ceci, like I said, 6'2", 210-pound right-handed defenseman, former first-round pick by the Ottawa Senators, way back in the 2012 NHL entry draft. Who else was in that draft? I'm just kind of curious now. So yeah, he was picked. All right, 2 picks before our good friend Tomas Hertl. Wow, we're getting old, guys. Tomas Hertl, Cody Ceci. Anyway, so bounced around, played for, he's kind of bounced around the league for a little bit, kind of ending up the last couple seasons with the Edmonton Oilers. So I lost my page here. So including playing for the Ottawa Senators, he's also played for the Maple Leafs. He played for the Penguins and has spent the last couple seasons with the Edmonton Oilers. Pulling up the fancy graph here on, if you're watching on YouTube. If not, I'll read it to you as well. So again, 1 year left at $3.25 million. Last year, he played 79 regular season games, had 5 goals, 20 assists with 97 shots on goal, averaging 20 minutes a night. Corsi 451.02, goals 451.75. Was, of course, those numbers when you play with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and those numbers are going to be slightly, inflated because of the superstars that are in your forward department. So put up his evolving hockey card, played first line minutes for the Oilers, first pair of minutes, for the Oilers. 34th percentile offensively, 34th percentile overall, 59th percentile offensively, and 14th percentile defensively. So goals above replacement are good. Expected goals replacement's okay. Played a ton of penalty kill. Like, he's going to help the Sharks penalty kill here. Solid, nothing. He was okay in that department. Didn't play power play, which is interesting. I kind of dug back. He hasn't really played on the power play since like his last season with the Sens. And even then he was playing second pairing minutes. So it'll be intriguing to see how they use him, if maybe that is kind of his role, playing on the power play, or if you're going to use a guy like Jake Wallman, who I think is probably better suited for playing on the power play, and then give a guy like Shakir Mukhamadullin, if he makes the team, that second unit, as you're kind of letting him get into the NHL. So I don't expect that to change for much, but what Cody Ceci, kind of his player usage and where he was utilized, was, according to Dauber prospects, he was mostly given slightly defensive zone against okay-ish competition, and didn't really do too much with it. Mostly also paired with Darnell Nurse last year, and there's a conversation we had about what Darnell Nurse's quality and what he brings, and there was talk of potentially buying out Darnell Nurse. I know, at least by Edmonton Oilers fans. I don't know if the Edmonton Oilers front office thought that hard about it, but you wonder if it's a chicken and the egg situation where Cody Ceci, who's can help provide some offense, but maybe was dragged down by Darnell Nurse, or Darnell, maybe that was the wrong partner. That's going to be an interesting, see what happens when those two guys are split up here, and maybe Ceci's given an opportunity to kind of redeem his value a little bit. But looking at all three zones, kind of his tracking data here, it's a little hard to see on but okay-ish in the offensive, does a good job of kind of creating assists per 60, very good at zone entries, so another guy who can kind of help transport the puck. He did it a lot for Edmonton, which is a little surprising, especially when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, et cetera. Defensively, retrievals per 60, was not great in that area. So maybe, again, going back to the Darnell Nurse, Cody Ceci, who caused who problems, did a solid job in kind of limiting carries against per 60, at least when it came to defensive zone entries. So a little bit kind of up and down with Cody Ceci there is some good, and there's definitely some bad with him. So for the Sharks, I think this is very much you're betting on, can you take a player, maybe separate him from Darnell Nurse. Yes, you're not going to have guys like McDavid and Draisaitl and the bunch kind of inflating some of his counting stats. But, Cody Ceci had definitely fallen. Wasn't the top guy, especially with Bouchard. You kind of taking the mantle as their number one defenseman, especially in the power and the playoffs there for Edmonton. So I think, if I'm just trying to think what Mike Greer's kind of end game plan is bringing a guy like Cody Ceci, who I think a lot of general managers are going to be willing to pay for at the trade deadline. Let him kind of come in, see if he can reestablish his value a little bit. He's going to play a bunch, especially on 5v5, and especially at short on the penalty kill, things that GMs love to see. And see if he can kind of reestablish or up his value here a little bit before the trade deadline. So I'm curious to see who he gets paired with. Do you put him with a Mario Ferraro? That would probably be my guess. It's probably Ferraro Ceci as your top pair. And And then you would have, so you'd probably have, let's go with that. So we'll go with Ceci, Ferraro, because you get your left, right. Wallman on the second pair with maybe Matt Benning. And then you have Thrun Vlasic or Shakir Mukmadulin in there as well, kind of in the mix as well, with Jan Ruda, who's also right-handed shot. So, we'll see how it goes. So, I mean, you have Jan Ruda. You have Jan Ruda and Cody Ceci are both going to be in the last years of their contracts. So maybe they play a little bit more in the beginning of the season to try to increase their trade value. But at the same time, you kind of know who those guys are. So overall, I hate giving up Ty Emberson, who I think is going to be a really solid defensive defenseman. But I think it's a gamble especially if at the trade deadline, if you can turn Cody Ceci into a second round pick to a team that's, looking for that type of player, that's a potential, then it makes a lot more sense there. So we'll put this trade as incomplete right now, just because I want to see what happens with Cody Ceci in the future. And if you flip him for something else, like that's either either a prospect or a pick, then you're basically getting paid to take him and then turn around and getting paid to trade him to somebody else. So that's going to be it on Cody Ceci. We have the Will Smith kind of projection podcast, which will be out basically right after this one. So make sure you guys are following along for that. You can follow along wherever you get podcasts. Of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see the same shirt like 3 episodes in a row. And I apologize, but it's Jimmy Pesto's. Follow the show, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole until like 45 minutes from now. Bye, friends.